Hello and welcome to About Last Night. My name's EJ Marino and this is the show where I talk about the movie I saw last night. I am very excited to jump into this week's movie, so without any further ado, I'm going to be talking about the new Disney Pixar film, Coco. So this movie is a little different than what I normally talk about on this channel. I don't really get to discuss animated movies or kids movies too often because I kind of put myself into a little box talking about horror films or art movies or superhero films. It gets crazy. So to kind of scale back and go to something like Coco, it's really important to me because I love animated films. I'm a big cartoon fan. I'm a big animated movie fan. Hell, I'm from the Disney Renaissance era. So I'm from Little Mermaid, Hercules, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King. That's what I grew up with. So I love cartoons. I have a soft spot for Disney. As much as I hate corporate evil Disney sometimes, I can't forget that Disney makes such important art films, and I mean art as animated, just pieces of art like this. I love seeing things like Coco, so this is a really interesting movie to talk about because I will say it kind of takes everything I love. This movie deals with death, but in a very fun way. This movie deals with family in a very fun way. This movie also deals with something I love talking about, and that's never meeting your heroes. That's a big subject within this movie, is sometimes your hero is not exactly who you think they're going to be. And that's something really important I don't think Disney touches on too often.
It's you. You're gonna get me in trouble, Dante. Someone could hear me. I wish someone wanted to hear me.
Like I said, Coco is a little different than what I normally talk about, but it's not too far off. There's really common themes and elements in this movie that I love. I love the sense of family that's in this film. It kind of comes within the Latin culture. I'm Cuban myself, so I definitely related to that loud family. I definitely related to that family who's kind of on top of you and a little needy. Not in a bad way, but that's just how family is, especially within the Spanish culture. So I loved seeing that. I also loved seeing something dark like death handled in such a light and wonderful way that comes with the Mexican culture. The Day of the Dead is such an important day for them, and it's different how the American culture celebrates death. Actually, we don't celebrate death. We mourn death. We don't really like talking about it. It's something that we're not too comfortable with. But within the Mexican culture, with something like this, it's celebrated. It's awesome to see that this is the only way our families can kind of come together. The family that you have in the world of the dead and the family that you have in the world of the living. It's the only time we get to mix together. So it's so important that it's mixing family and it's mixing something different and something difficult to normally talk about like death in a movie like this. The things I love in this movie are the music. The music is literally music to my ears. It feels so good on the inside. This whole movie is like music to my ears. The dialogue, just the familiarity, just the songs. Like I said, I don't want to like dive away from the songs, but everything about this movie is good. But the songs are so important. The songs are so fun. Remember Me, I think, is going to be the Oscar song of the year. It's kind of like what How Far I'll Go was last year, or the La La Land songs from last year. No, this is definitely the song from Moana, How Far I'll Go. Remember Me is just going to be kind of a repeat viewing for me. I just really want to hear it again. Even the multiple times they played it in the movie, I was just like, oh, can we go back to Remember Me? Oh, that song's cute, but Remember Me is the song that I really connected with a lot. I really liked it. I liked hearing the different versions of it. There's actually one scene where he was just like, one of the skeletons is telling, I think it's Hector, is telling Miguel, you're gonna do Remember Me? This is like the biggest song in the land of the dead. They go to see different versions of it being played. Well, honestly, that's the power of music. I love a song that you can, play in an opera song. You can play with a guitar. You can play with just playing glass, those little glass things that makes that really nice, like, beautiful glass noise. I love that. But you can see that how Remember Me is so important that it can be transitioned through all those different types of genres of music. I love seeing that. I think that was really interesting.
What's going on? I'm just dreaming.
Do you mind?
So other than songs, the use of colors and the visuals in this movie are so beautifully breathtaking. Sometimes I would just kind of not even pay attention to what was going on in the story. I would just be lost in looking at things, and especially when they get to the land of the dead, which I find to be so gorgeous and so stunning, and honestly so inviting. I thought that was such an interesting dynamic to put the land of the dead and make it look so warm and inviting, but that's what I loved. I don't usually advise to see movies in 3D, but I really think this movie was kind of perfected by the 3D visuals. It wasn't nauseating or distracting. It kind of added to it. You kind of felt even more in there. It felt more in depth. There was more detail. There was more colors that you can kind of grab, or there was more little places that you're like, ooh, what's that? What's going on down there? And that's what really helped with the 3D. You want to be in this world. You almost want to leave. I kind of would love like 20 more minutes of this movie, because I was just like, don't leave. I have to stay in the land of the dead. Oh, okay, cool. We're back into the normal land of the living. We're back in beautiful Mexico, and I like that. But I was just like, oh, I don't want to leave this. And that's such a great feeling when you don't want to leave the world that's invented in front of you. Trying to think of negatives to talk about this movie, I really don't have many. If I'm gonna nitpick, the spirit animals in this movie felt a little too Disney. You could definitely tell the colors or how they were designed, they were meant to sell toys. That was the few times that I felt the pure Disney come through, but I can't think of really big negatives of this movie. I would be nitpicking if I really had to, and okay, I guess if I had any, it would be the story or the plot. It's not the most groundbreaking, it's a little generic, but I think it's generic because it had a lot of themes it wanted to deal with. There was some kind of very American border issues that we had to deal with, some immigration issues. There's also the story of family, there's also the story of the dead. You also had that like kind of theme of maybe not all the heroes you have should be the heroes you love, and that was good in there. So I think if you would have distracted from some of those themes, if you would have made a more complex or more convoluted story. No, they told a very simple story, and it went from point A to point C and didn't get lost in point B. Where you weren't like, okay, what's happening, what's going on? No, you understood from it was a straight line. They just went down it, and I really liked that. So like I said, the story's not the most groundbreaking, but I found a way to get out of that, to be like, look, they had to make it simple so they can tell these crazy dramatic things. Sometimes when you have like a crazy story, you don't really get to focus on the character designs or the themes that you're trying to do, or the songs or the visuals. That gets distracted with a convoluted story. So I'm really happy they kept it simple so they can enhance everything else.
You are that boy, the one who came from the land of the living.
You know about me?
You are all anyone has been talking about.
I really don't know what else to say about this movie. I can kind of just rant and go on and gush about this movie because Coco is one of the strongest Disney Pixar films I've ever seen, and I can be a little hyperbolic about that, but honestly, I think this is one of their top tier films because it relates to the Spanish community, but it also tells an original and fun new story. This gets a lot of comparisons so far from what I've seen, like The Book of Life, and yes, I can see where they're comparing those two, but this felt so different and so unique and so refreshing. I love this movie. I really love Coco. If I'm going to give it a rating, I would give this movie like a 9 out of 10, maybe almost a 9.5 out of 10. It could have been perfect if there was just a little bit stronger story, or if it didn't kind of creep through with some of the Disney tropes or some of those Disney that I'm like, oh, there's that money-making Disney that I knew was going to be here. So if some of those little elements were out, this would be a perfect movie, but it's close. I love Coco. I really advise that you go out and see this instantly. Go out and see it with family. Go out and see it by yourself. Go out and see it with your abuela if you're Spanish, if you're white. Go into this knowing that you're going to be seeing a different culture, and a culture that you could possibly fall in love with. So I recommend this to see it multiple times. See this over Thanksgiving. See this during the holidays. See it when it comes out on DVD. Coco is a must-see. That's it for this week's episode of About Last Night. It really means the world to me. I loved getting to talk about Coco. This is going to be one of the biggest animated movies of the year. If not, I think one of the biggest animated movies ever, just because of that Latin demographic. Okay, I'm exaggerating maybe a little bit, but that's how much I love Coco. So thank you so much. Before you go, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Also, don't forget to comment down below. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel because I make new videos just like this every week.